Adoptive parents, how did you clap back at the family member who insulted your kid? My 10-year-old daughter Lily was in the kitchen showing me her outfit, pumped about my sister's engagement party tomorrow. We had adopted her 6 months ago and she was still in the trying to prove herself phase, so family events were everything to her. She'd just finished wrapping the engaged couple's present when my phone buzzed. It was my sister-in-law Rachel. Don't bring that outsider to the engagement party. This is for real family only, not some random charity case you picked up to feel good about yourselves. I stared at the text in disbelief. Before I could move, Lily peered her head over the phone. That's about me? Her lower lip quivered. I tried to turn the phone, but she'd already seen it. I'm an outsider? She was now sniffling between words. A charity case? The tears started rolling. I'm not real family? She was almost hyperventilating. But everyone hugged me at Christmas. They do love you. I tried so hard to be good for you. She was sobbing now. I saved for 3 weeks for their present. I thought if I got them something nice. She couldn't finish. Am I going back to foster care? That destroyed me. I grabbed her into a ginormous mom hug. Listen to me. You are never going back. We are going to that party. Rachel doesn't get to decide who's family. But she said I don't match. Then we'll make you match so perfectly she can't say a word. I wiped her tears. You want to wear that sparkly outfit you picked out? Her eyes lit up slightly. The one with rainbows? Every single rainbow. I texted my husband the screenshot. He came downstairs immediately and his jaw went rigid. He knelt by Lily. Rachel said that about you? She nodded. Well, Rachel's about to learn what happens when you mess with our daughter. The word daughter made Lily's eyes widen. Go get your sparkly outfit. We're adding to it. My phone rang. My sister Casey, the girl getting married. Mom just forwarded me Rachel's text. I'm livid. Put me on speaker. I did. Lily, honey, I need you at my party. In fact, I have a special job. You're going to help me with something secret. A smile appeared on Lily's face. Really? Really? And wear your best outfit. While Lily tried on her outfit, Rachel texted again. Just confirming you got my message. I assume she won't be there. I didn't respond. My mother-in-law called, though. I saw Rachel's texts. That woman married my son, but she's never been family like Lily is. Lily overheard. Grandma said I'm family? Baby, you've been family since day one. That's when my teenage nephew, Rachel's own son, texted me. Mom's being weird about Lily. I'm wearing a matching sparkly bow tie tomorrow. Rachel's own kids were rebelling. We soon went shopping for additions. Platform shoes with glitter, hair accessories that caught light like diamonds, a purse covered in rhinestones. Is this too much? Lily asked. It's perfect. Rachel's going to lose her mind, I said. She smiled. Good. That evening, Lily made another gift. A massive handmade card covered in congratulations and stickers of everyone labeled family. Rachel called my husband, but we let it go to voicemail. I'm not trying to be mean, but tomorrow is about Casey, not your little charity project. I'm thinking of Casey's happiness. The family group chat exploded when Casey announced, everyone wear something sparkly tomorrow, even if it's just a sock to match Lily. Rachel immediately texted the group. That's not necessary. Casey responded. Yes, it is. Lily practiced walking in her platforms. What if Rachel blocks the door? Then we go through her, my husband said. But what if? No what ifs. You belong there. The next morning, Lily put on her entire outfit. Do I look like I belong? You look like you own the place. In the car, she clutched both presents. Mom, what if nobody else wore sparkles? They will. What if Rachel says something mean? Then everyone will see exactly who she is. We arrived at the venue. Rachel was stationed at the entrance like a guard. Her face went from confident to volcanic when she saw Lily in full sparkle glory. But before she could speak, Casey burst through the doors in her dress. Lily! My special helper! She ran over, scooping Lily up. You look perfect. Come on, we have work to do. Rachel's mouth opened, but Casey was already whisking Lily inside. The entire family was there, all wearing something sparkly. Grandparents with glitter bow ties, aunts with glittered scarves, and Rachel's own kids in some rhinestone accessories. The newest member of our family. Rachel stood frozen as her own children ran to hug Lily. We love your outfit. You look like a disco ball. Her teenage son loudly announced. This is our cousin Lily, everyone. During Casey's toast, she raised her glass. Before we celebrate, I need my special helper. She pulled Lily up beside her. This amazing girl joined our family 6 months ago and made it complete. Lily, will you be my flower girl? The room erupted. Lily's hands flew to her mouth. Rachel's face was purple. When Lily gave Casey the family card, Casey almost teared up. It's perfect, Casey announced. This is going in our wedding album. Rachel tried to protest about the mess, but Casey's fiancé said loudly, this is what family does. That's when Rachel stood up, papers in hand, and started marching toward the center of the room. She cleared her throat aggressively. Rachel's arm shot up high with a stack of papers clutched in her fist. Everyone needs to hear this. The whole room went quiet, and every single guest turned to stare at her. Lily's little hand grabbed mine so hard I thought she might break my fingers. I have documentation here about adoption fraud that proves this child doesn't belong in our family. Rachel waved the papers around like she was holding a winning lottery ticket. People started whispering and looking between us and Rachel. My heart was pounding, but before I could move, Casey was already storming across the room in her engagement dress. She reached Rachel in about 3 seconds and ripped those papers right out of her hand. The sound of paper tearing filled the silent room as Casey shredded them into pieces without even looking at what they said. Anyone who doesn't support all members of this family can leave right now. Casey threw the torn pieces into the air and they floated down like confetti. Rachel's face went from red to purple and she started screaming about evidence and legal guardians and how we weren't Lily's real parents. My husband stepped forward from behind me and walked straight up to Rachel. "You need to leave this party immediately." His voice was calm, but I could see his hands shaking with anger. Rachel kept yelling about how she had proof and everyone needed to know the truth about our illegal adoption. That's when Edwin finally pushed through the crowd looking like he wanted to disappear into the floor. "Rachel, please, let's just go." He reached for her arm, but she yanked it away and kept shouting about lawyers and documentation. Edwin turned to face everyone with his face bright red. "I'm so sorry about this." He tried grabbing Rachel's elbow to guide her toward the exit, but she shoved him back. The venue manager, Brianna Paget, appeared with 2 security guards right behind her. She walked up to Rachel with this professional smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Ma'am, you're disrupting this event and I need you to leave voluntarily in the next 2 minutes or these gentlemen will escort you out." Rachel looked at the security guards, and then back at Brianna but kept standing there like she was planted to the floor. That's when Rachel's teenage son stood up from his table. "I'm staying at the party with my cousin Lily." He walked right past his mom and wrapped Lily in this huge hug. His younger siblings jumped up too and ran over to join the hug, leaving Rachel standing there completely alone by the exit. My mother-in-law got up from her seat and walked slowly toward Rachel. She stopped right in front of her and spoke just loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. "I'm ashamed of your behavior. Lily has been my granddaughter for 6 months, and your prejudice won't change that." Rachel's mouth opened and closed like a fish, but no words came out. She grabbed her purse and started stomping toward the door. "You'll be hearing from my lawyer about this illegal adoption." She slammed the door so hard the whole room shook. Edwin stayed behind with his shoulders slumped and his face still red. "I'll handle my wife, I promise." He looked at me and then at Lily. "I'm so sorry." Casey grabbed the microphone from the DJ stand. "All right, everyone. It's time for my special flower girl to help me cut the celebration cake." She reached out her hand toward Lily. "Come on up here where everyone can see you." Lily looked at me and I nodded, so she walked up to the stage area where Casey was waiting. The whole crowd started clapping and cheering as Lily stood next to Casey by the big cake. People were taking pictures and shouting nice things about how pretty Lily looked in her sparkly outfit. After the cake cutting, I took Lily to the venue's prep room because she looked like she was about to fall apart. The second we got inside and closed the door, she burst into tears. Her whole body was shaking as she sobbed into my shirt. "Can Aunt Rachel really take me away?" She could barely get the words out between sobs. "What if she has real papers? What if the adoption wasn't done right?" I held her as tight as I could without hurting her. "Listen to me, baby. Rachel has absolutely no power over our family. The adoption is completely legal and final. No one can take you away from us." She kept crying and asking what if questions about lawyers and courts and foster care. I just kept holding her and telling her over and over that she was ours forever, and Rachel couldn't do anything about it. Her sparkly dress was getting wrinkled from how hard she was pressing against me, but I didn't care. We stayed in that prep room for what felt like forever, while she cried out all the stress from what just happened. I could hear the party continuing outside, but all that mattered was making sure Lily knew she was safe and loved and never going anywhere. The prep room door opened and Casey walked in carrying a small silver box that sparkled under the lights. She knelt down next to Lily and opened it to reveal a crystal tiara with tiny flowers made of rhinestones. Without saying anything, she placed it gently on Lily's head and adjusted it until it sat perfectly with her sparkly outfit. Lily's eyes went wide as she touched the tiara with shaking fingers, and Casey pulled her into a hug that lasted a long time. I watched them holding each other while the party music played faintly through the walls. Casey whispered something about family being about choosing to love each other, and Lily nodded against her shoulder. A knock came at the door, and Edwin stepped inside looking uncomfortable with his hands in his pockets. He asked if he could talk to us privately, and I could see sweat on his forehead, even though the room was cool. Casey gave Lily one more squeeze and told her to go show everyone her new tiara. Lily walked out slowly, still touching the crystals on her head like she couldn't believe it was real. Edwin closed the door behind her and leaned against it with his shoulders slumped forward. He started explaining how Rachel had been trying to adopt for 2 years without success, and how seeing us with Lily made her crazy with jealousy. His voice cracked when he said he should have stopped her sooner, but he kept hoping she would calm down on her own. I wanted to be mad at him, but he looked so miserable standing there apologizing over and over. We went back out to the party where Lily was surrounded by relatives all wanting to touch her tiara and tell her how pretty she looked. The photographer kept pulling her aside for pictures with different family members, and each time Lily's smile got bigger. Grandma made sure to get a photo of just the two of them with their matching sparkly accessories. Rachel's kids stayed close to Lily the whole time like they were protecting her from their absent mother. The party went on for hours with Lily never taking off her tiara even when we ate cake and danced. That night after we got home, Lily stood in our bedroom doorway clutching her stuffed bear and asked if she could sleep with us. She climbed into the middle of our bed and curled up small between us with her back pressed against my chest. My husband reached over and held her hand while she asked questions about whether Rachel could really take her away. We spent hours in the dark telling her she was stuck with us forever and that no one could change that. She fell asleep holding both our hands, but woke up crying twice from bad dreams about lawyers and courts. Each time we had to start over with the promises and the hugging until she calmed down enough to sleep again. The next morning, my phone rang while I was making breakfast, and it was Edwin sounding panicked. He said Rachel had stayed up all night on her laptop researching adoption laws and printing out articles about contested adoptions. He was trying to distract her, but wanted us to know she wasn't giving up on whatever crazy plan she had. I hung up and immediately called our adoption lawyer who had handled Lily's case 6 months ago. She laughed when I explained about Rachel and said there was absolutely nothing a sister-in-law could do to challenge a finalized adoption. She offered to write a formal letter if needed, but said Rachel had no legal standing whatsoever. While I was on the phone, our family group chat started going crazy with messages from everyone at the party. Cousins and aunts were posting photos of themselves with Lily, all wearing their sparkly accessories and saying how happy they were she was part of the family. Someone posted a video of Lily getting her tiara, and within minutes it had dozens of heart emojis and comments about how precious she was. Rachel must have seen all the messages because she created her own group chat that didn't include us or anyone who had defended Lily. She tried to convince people we were hiding something about the adoption, and that she had concerns about Lily's background. Only 2 distant cousins even responded, and they both told her to drop it and stop causing drama. Edwin sent me screenshots of Rachel's messages, and I could see she was getting more desperate with each one. 3 days passed with things seeming calmer until Lily's school counselor called me at work. She said Lily had a panic attack during social studies when the teacher mentioned lawyers as part of a lesson on government. Lily had started crying and couldn't catch her breath, and they had to take her to the nurse's office. The counselor said Lily kept asking if lawyers could take kids away from their parents, and nothing they said would calm her down. I left work immediately and found Lily still in the nurse's office with red puffy eyes and her sparkly purse clutched in her lap. She threw herself at me the second I walked in and wouldn't let go even when I tried to sign her out. The whole drive home she kept asking what would happen if Rachel got a lawyer and whether judges could make her go back to foster care. That afternoon, I started calling therapists who specialized in adoption trauma and family conflict issues. The receptionist at one office said they had someone named Ashlyn Ma who was amazing with kids and had openings later in the week. I booked the first available appointment and wrote down all the things that had happened, so I wouldn't forget anything important. Lily spent the rest of the day following me around the house like she was afraid I might disappear if she looked away. My phone buzzed with a text from Casey while I was making Lily a snack in the kitchen. She said she was officially taking Rachel off the wedding guest list, unless Rachel apologized to Lily directly. She'd already talked to the venue manager about adding extra security in case Rachel tried to crash the wedding. I showed Lily the message and watched her eyes get wide as she realized Aunt Casey was choosing her over Rachel. The doorbell rang 20 minutes later, and there stood Edwin with a huge bouquet of flowers and the most embarrassed look on his face. He knelt down to Lily's level and handed her the flowers, telling her he was so sorry for not stopping his wife sooner. He promised he was getting Rachel into counseling and asked if we could all work toward fixing things eventually. Lily took the flowers but stayed pressed against my leg, not ready to trust him completely yet. Edwin stayed for an hour, mostly sitting quietly while Lily showed him her school projects from across the room. He kept apologizing every few minutes until my husband finally told him we heard him and needed time to process everything. After Edwin left, my mother-in-law called to say she was organizing a special dinner just for people who supported Lily. She made it clear Rachel wasn't invited and wanted Lily to see how many family members stood with her. The dinner was set for that weekend at her house, and she'd already ordered Lily's favorite foods from 3 different restaurants. That Friday night, we walked into Grandma's house to find it packed with cousins, aunts, uncles, and family friends. Everyone had made cards for Lily saying how much they loved having her in the family. Rachel's own kids had made the biggest card covered in glitter that said, "Best cousin ever," across the front. Lily sat in the middle of the living room floor, opening card after card while tears rolled down her cheeks. Her teenage cousin read his out loud, saying Lily was the coolest addition to their family in years. The younger kids piled on top of her in a giant cousin hug that turned into a tickle fight. We took so many pictures that night, and Lily asked if we could frame every single card for her bedroom wall. Monday morning brought a certified letter from a law firm that made my blood run cold. Rachel had sent a formal cease and desist claiming we were alienating her children from their mother. She wanted us to stop allowing her kids to visit Lily, and accused us of turning them against her. Edwin called within minutes of the letter arriving, absolutely horrified at what his wife had done. He'd already contacted the lawyer to withdraw the whole thing and was driving to the office right then. 2 hours later, he texted us a copy of the lawyer's response to Rachel. The lawyer had billed her for 3 hours of wasted time and refused to take her case any further. He wrote that she had absolutely no legal grounds for any action against us regarding a legally adopted child. Rachel had apparently thrown a fit in the lawyer's office and been asked to leave by building security. Thursday was Lily's first appointment with Ashlyn Ma, the therapist we'd found who specialized in adoption issues. I sat in the waiting room for an hour trying not to worry about what they were talking about. Lily came out with the biggest smile on her face, showing me a paper with breathing exercises Ashlyn had taught her. She demonstrated the visualization technique right there in the waiting room, closing her eyes and taking deep breaths. Ashlyn explained that Lily would practice these exercises whenever she felt scared or worried about Rachel. That night before bed, I watched Lily go through each exercise carefully, counting her breaths and imagining her safe place. She'd chosen our living room during movie night as her visualization spot, with all of us piled on the couch together. The next day, we sat down with Lily to create a safety plan for if Rachel ever approached her. We wrote down every important phone number on a card for her sparkly purse, including mine, Dad's, Grandma's, and even 911. We practiced what she would say and do if Rachel showed up at the school or anywhere else. Lily role-played yelling for help and running to the nearest adult, getting more confident with each practice run. She kept that card in her purse and checked for it every morning before school like a security blanket. Saturday morning, Casey picked up Lily for a special girls' day to shop for flower girl dresses. They went to 5 different stores, trying on every style and color combination they could find. Lily sent me pictures from each dressing room, spinning in circles and making silly faces in formal gowns. They finally found the perfect dress at a little boutique, white with rainbow ribbon trim that made Lily squeal with joy. Casey bought her matching shoes and a tiara, plus a backup dress just in case anything happened to the first one. They came home with bags of accessories and Lily modeled the whole outfit for us 3 times. That evening I was scrolling through social media when I saw Rachel had posted a long rant about fake families. She didn't use our names but wrote about people who adopt kids for attention and virtue signaling. The post was clearly about us, calling adoption a trend for people who wanted to look good on social media. Within an hour, multiple family members had reported the post for harassment and hate speech. Screenshots started flooding our family group chat as everyone expressed their disgust at Rachel's behavior. The post disappeared within 2 hours, either deleted by Rachel or removed by the platform for violations. Edwin texted to say he'd seen the post and was moving into the guest room until Rachel agreed to get serious help. He sent another text 20 minutes later saying Rachel was screaming through the guest room door, but he wasn't backing down this time. Monday morning, I dropped Lily off at the school and she practically bounced out of the car with a folder full of engagement party photos tucked under her arm. Her teacher called me that afternoon to report that Lily had done a whole presentation during show and tell about being chosen as Flower Girl, complete with pictures of everyone in their sparkles. The teacher mentioned how much more confident Lily seemed lately, standing taller and speaking louder than she had all year. That evening, we called a family meeting with our 2 biological kids who were 13 and 15. They sat on either side of Lily on the couch while we explained everything that had happened with Rachel. Our oldest got up and paced around the room, his fists clenched as he processed what his aunt had done. Our 13-year-old daughter wrapped her arms around Lily and declared that anyone who messed with her little sister would have to deal with her too. Lily's eyes filled with tears, but she was smiling as both her siblings squeezed her between them in a protective sandwich. The next day, Rachel's teenage son texted asking if he could video call us after school. He appeared on screen looking exhausted and immediately asked if he could still come to the wedding even if his mom couldn't. We assured him of course he was welcome and watched his shoulders sag with relief. He admitted he'd been fighting with Rachel every single day about her treatment of Lily, showing us screenshots of their text arguments where he called her out for being cruel. He said his younger siblings were also upset with their mom and had been giving her the silent treatment for days. 2 weeks before the wedding, we drove to the venue for Lily's Flower Girl practice run. She wore her actual dress and walked down the practice aisle 12 times, getting more confident with each pass. Brianna, the venue manager, watched from the side and took notes about where to position extra security on the actual day. She showed us the side entrances they'd be monitoring and explained their protocol for handling unwanted guests. Lily practiced her petal throwing technique until she had it perfect, creating an even trail of rose petals from the back doors to the altar. That night, Edwin called to report that Rachel had finally agreed to attend one counseling session, but only to prove she was right about everything. He sounded cautiously hopeful that a professional might get through to her where family hadn't been able to. The therapist had an opening that Thursday, and Edwin was planning to drive her there himself to make sure she actually went. Saturday morning, Lily spread out all her art supplies on the dining room table and announced she was making thank you cards for everyone who wore sparkles. She worked for 6 hours straight, creating 32 individual cards with drawings of each person in their sparkly outfit. We spent Sunday afternoon addressing envelopes together, with Lily carefully writing each name in her best handwriting. She insisted on adding extra stickers to the cards for Rachel's kids who had been so supportive. We walked to the mailbox together, and Lily kissed each envelope before dropping it in. Edwin texted that evening to say the therapy session had taken an unexpected turn. The therapist had apparently been very direct with Rachel, explaining that her behavior could be considered harassment, and she could potentially face legal consequences if she continued. Rachel had gone completely silent during the session, and hadn't spoken the entire drive home. Edwin said she'd locked herself in their bedroom and he could hear her crying through the door. The next week, Ashlyn called to schedule Lily's regular appointment and mentioned that Lily was making remarkable progress. She suggested we consider doing a few family therapy sessions to help everyone process the recent events together. Lily overheard the conversation and immediately asked if Grandma could come to one of the sessions. She said Grandma's support meant everything to her, and she wanted to thank her properly. We scheduled the family session for the following Tuesday, and my mother-in-law cleared her entire day to be there. The therapy room felt crowded with all of us squeezed onto the couch, but Lily insisted on sitting right between me and Grandma. Ashlyn guided us through discussing how the whole situation had affected each family member. When it was Grandma's turn to speak, her voice cracked as she described watching Lily handle Rachel's cruelty with such grace. She talked about how proud she was of Lily's strength and resilience, wiping tears from her cheeks as she spoke. Lily turned to face her grandmother and asked in a small voice if she could officially call her Grandma from now on. My mother-in-law pulled Lily into her arms and sobbed that she'd been Lily's grandma from the very first day. Everyone in the room was crying by then. Even Ashlyn had to grab a tissue from her desk. We spent the rest of the session talking about what family really means, and how love isn't determined by blood or adoption papers, but by the choice to show up for each other every single day. 5 days before the wedding, my phone buzzed with a text from Rachel saying she wouldn't be coming to the wedding or causing any problems. Edwin called right after to confirm she'd booked herself a spa weekend for the same dates. He sounded relieved when he explained she'd finally accepted that staying away was better than risking another scene. We spent the rest of that week getting Lily's flower girl dress altered one last time and practicing her petal throwing technique in the backyard. She'd toss handfuls of rose petals from her white basket and then run to collect them all to try again. The wedding rehearsal 2 days later went perfectly with Lily walking down the practice aisle at the venue with this huge smile on her face. The photographer who'd come early to scout locations kept snapping pictures of her practicing with her basket. She'd pause at each row of chairs to make sure everyone would get petals, and the photographer captured every moment. At the rehearsal dinner that night, Edwin arrived with Rachel's kids, who immediately ran straight to Lily with these handmade cards they'd made. Edwin pulled me aside to mention that Rachel had actually helped them make the cards even though she wasn't coming. The kids surrounded Lily at her table, showing her all the glitter and stickers they'd used to write "Good Luck Flower Girl" on each one. The morning of the wedding arrived, and Lily insisted on wearing the sparkly tiara from the engagement party, along with her flower girl dress. She stood in front of my bedroom mirror, adjusting it perfectly, and asked me to take a picture for her future kids someday. I snapped about 20 photos while she posed in different angles, making sure the tiara caught the light just right. We arrived at the venue early so Lily could practice one more time before guests arrived. During the actual ceremony, Lily walked down that aisle throwing petals with perfect timing and beaming at every single person she passed. When she reached the altar, Casey pulled her into this long hug before Lily took her spot next to the other bridesmaids. The ceremony was beautiful, and Lily stood perfectly still the entire time, holding her empty basket and watching Casey and her new husband exchange vows. At the reception afterward, Edwin stood up during the toasts and looked right at Lily while talking about how lucky the family was to have her. He called her his niece and said he was proud to be her uncle, which made Lily's whole face light up. Later during the dancing, Rachel's teenage son walked over to Lily and asked for a special dance in front of everyone. He announced loudly that she was the best cousin ever, and soon all the other kids joined them in this big circle. They were all dancing around Lily, who was spinning in the middle with her tiara sparkling under the lights. My mother-in-law found me during a slow song and mentioned that Rachel had actually watched the whole ceremony on the live stream from her spa. She hadn't commented on anything, but she'd watched from beginning to end, which seemed like progress. Near the end of the reception, Lily finally crashed from all the excitement and fell asleep in my arms, still wearing her tiara. She was clutching her flower basket even while sleeping, and had this peaceful smile on her face. Casey came over and whispered that Lily had made the wedding absolutely perfect, and she couldn't imagine it without her. 2 weeks after the wedding, a card arrived addressed to Lily in Rachel's handwriting. Inside it just said, "Congratulations on being a beautiful flower girl," with Rachel's signature at the bottom. Lily stared at it for a long time before asking if she could write back to say thank you. We helped her write a simple note, and she drew a picture of the whole family, including Rachel, standing together. Edwin texted later that Rachel had received it and actually cried when she saw the drawing. 3 days after that, Lily came to me with colored pencils and construction paper, asking if she could write a thank you note back to Aunt Rachel for the card. We sat at the kitchen table together while she carefully wrote out each word in her best handwriting, erasing and rewriting until every letter looked perfect. She drew a picture at the bottom showing our whole family standing together in a line, and she put Rachel right there next to Edwin with a big smile on her stick figure face. I helped her address the envelope, and we walked to the mailbox together, where she stood on her tiptoes to push it inside. Edwin called me that evening to tell me Rachel had gotten the note, and when she saw the drawing of herself was included in the family picture, she'd actually broken down crying in their kitchen. A couple weeks passed before Edwin stopped by our house one afternoon, while Lily was at the school to update us on how things were going with Rachel. He sat at our kitchen counter drinking coffee, and explained that Rachel had been going to therapy twice a week since the wedding, and the therapist was helping her work through some deep stuff about her own childhood. Apparently, Rachel and Edwin had been trying to adopt for almost 2 years before we got Lily, and they'd gotten rejected by 3 different agencies for various reasons that Rachel took really personally. The therapist told Edwin that Rachel's anger at Lily was actually jealousy, mixed with grief about their own adoption struggles, and she was starting to understand that now, but still had a long way to go. Edwin said Rachel wasn't ready to apologize yet, but she was working on herself, and that was progress. The following month was Lily's last scheduled session with Ashlyn Ma, and I drove her to the familiar office one final time. Lily practically bounced into the waiting room, so different from that scared girl who'd gone to her first appointment months earlier. When Ashlyn called us both back after the session, she had this huge smile on her face and handed Lily a certificate she'd made that said, "Certificate of Bravery," with Lily's name in fancy letters. Ashlyn explained that Lily had developed amazing coping skills and didn't need regular therapy anymore, though we could always come back if anything came up. Lily clutched that certificate the whole ride home and immediately asked for tape to hang it on her bedroom wall right next to her flower girl tiara from the wedding. 6 months after that whole engagement party disaster, We all got invited to a family barbecue at my mother-in-law's house for the 4th of July. Edwin had warned us that Rachel would be there, the first time we'd all be in the same place since the wedding. We talked to Lily about it beforehand, and she said she wanted to go, so we loaded up the car with potato salad and headed over. Rachel was already there when we arrived, sitting quietly at a picnic table in the corner of the yard. She looked up when we walked in but didn't say anything, just gave this small nod and went back to her drink. Lily stuck close to me at first, but gradually relaxed when Rachel didn't approach or say anything mean. The kids all played together in the sprinkler while the adults grilled burgers, and it was almost normal except for how Rachel and I carefully avoided being near each other. She left early without saying goodbye, but Edwin said later that just her showing up and not causing problems was huge progress. That September, Lily's teacher called to tell me that Lily had won the school's citizenship award for an essay she'd written about what family means. The ceremony was the next Friday morning in the gymnasium, and I immediately started texting everyone about it. My mother-in-law said she wouldn't miss it for the world. Casey rearranged a work meeting to be there, and even Edwin took the morning off to come. The whole family showed up except Rachel, filling an entire row of folding chairs in the gym. When they called Lily's name, she walked up to the podium and read her essay out loud to everyone, talking about how family isn't just about blood, but about the people who choose to love you every day. I was crying. Casey was crying. Even my husband was wiping his eyes. Edwin had his phone out recording the whole thing, and I saw him typing something right after Lily finished. Later that evening, my phone buzzed with a text from Rachel saying she'd watched the video Edwin sent, and Lily's essay was beautiful. Just that, nothing else. But Edwin texted me separately, saying it was the first time Rachel had ever said anything directly positive about Lily, and he thought it was a real breakthrough in her therapy. Christmas came around and we were hosting the family celebration at our house. Rachel and Edwin arrived together carrying presents, and I watched Rachel pull out a wrapped box from her bag and walk over to where Lily was sitting by the tree. She handed it to Lily without saying much, just, "This is for you," and then went to help in the kitchen. Lily carefully unwrapped it to find a sparkly picture frame with a note tucked inside that said, "For your favorite family photo." Lily immediately ran to her room and came back with the photo from the engagement party, the one where she's wearing her full sparkle outfit surrounded by the whole family, and carefully placed it in the frame. Later that night, after everyone had gone home, I helped Lily hang the framed photo on her bedroom wall, right between her flower girl tiara and her certificate of bravery. Standing there looking at that wall covered in memories from this crazy year, I realized how much we'd all changed and grown from this whole experience. Well, that's gonna do it for me today. Appreciate you hanging out and questioning things right along with me. Always feels like a real journey when we share it together. Subscribe for more content like this.